yes, we did get disconnected.
That's a good thing. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the, what do you call, Blast from the Past, Michael Jackson, Can You Feel It? And the whole idea about introduction of life on the earth and how space and something greater than ourselves is responsible for the development and creation of humanity. And also we know throughout time that anytime you have good, you always have evil trying to pull that down. And we're definitely witnessing that through this master play that we're going through.
One of the things, too, they killed recently, and, you know, my thing is they killed him. In fact, suppose he had so many radiation blasts on his body, that's one of the reasons why they didn't want an autopsy, or didn't want an open autopsy, because he was so inspired, and you saw how many people came out after his death. And he'd gone on this world tour and brought out the things he wanted to. He had people in Czechoslovakia coming out. He had people in Ghana coming out. He had people in Spitsbergen coming out. He had people down in the Dominican Republic coming out. Everybody would have come out to see this man because they could feel it. He was a caricature that changed races before your face. But they felt his soul. And had he gone out of there, he would have been a catalyst for good. So therefore, they had to take him out too. As I say, there's a lot going on in our planet, and you definitely have to post something.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. When you mentioned about, well, it kind of goes hand in hand about Michael Jackson and the whole idea of incarnating or reincarnating. I know that in Chicago, in your area, at the time of the passing or the transition of Michael Jackson, there was a bust that allegedly was in the basement of the museum over there, and it looked exactly like the transformative Michael Jackson of our time. Are you familiar with that?
I heard something about it. I didn't see it.
Okay, yeah. There's a you know how when after Michael Jackson didn't look like Michael Jackson from a little kid, but as he got to his time of transition, he had definitely transformed his look. And there was a bust, and I'll see if I can, by the time of the end of the program or close to the end of the program, I'll come up with the actual name of the. He was actually a singer in one of the Pharaoh's courts, and Michael Jackson looked exactly like him. So that whole, I guess, woo-woo type of thing going on is very interesting to me. And I was wondering if you were familiar with that whole idea that Michael Jackson, there was about 3,000 years ago in the Pharaoh's court over in Kemet, or Egypt as we call it now, a guy who was a singer looked exactly like Michael Jackson at the end of his reign here on the earth plane.
Oh, at the end of his reign?
Yeah.
Okay, are you talking about Tahuti?
No, it wasn't Tahuti. I'm not talking about part of the Neteru, the Netters, but as I keep talking, the name of the guy will come up to me, and then you could just do a Google search, and you'll see the picture of who he is.
Okay.
Dr. Delbert Blair, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Yes, you mentioned about the children. Can you go more into explaining the
different... me again. I can't hear you.
Okay. You mentioned about the indigo children and the crystal children. Can you go into explaining them and what their purposes are?
Yes, and that's one of the words I was trying to think of, the indigo children. When I say crystals and indigos and crystal walk-ins, yes. Yes, definitely so. From about 1985 on, a host, shall we say, of incarnates from other planets, Andromeda, Sirius, Arcturus. In fact, I think I'm one from Arcturus, but that's neither here nor there right now. I have to throw that.
Oh, that's the Big Bear system, huh?
Oh, yeah, I think I left it a little bit. In fact, I was coming in here drawing spaceships and talking about Arcturus shines, the plexus dams, the zoo is closed, that's in man's whim, and I'm 3 years old. So you tell me.
Yeah, so at that particular time, I guess it hadn't got turned off from you with your parents or your Earth parents anyway.
No, they're really not that. As I said, it just developed from that time on.
Okay.
But at any rate, the indigos, of course, and the crystals, these are incarnate. The idea is that souls never die, but you can lose a soul. So in the case that here, these Dracons had souls, they lost their souls. And because of the need for souls from around who feel the pain of Earth and who want to do something to help the universe and the Creator to go in consciousness, they volunteered, or most of them volunteered to come here now to speed up the transition of souls here by using devices and using foods and using meditations and transforming things so that this planetary atmosphere can change up and so we can get faster. Of course, there's always blockers. We won't mention the blockers because they make themselves well known.
Right.
So that's just what is being said there. So indigos and crystals simply mean that they're clear. They're crystals. We're nothing but crystals anyway. Our whole blood is nothing but crystals. If you see dried blood, you see these different hexagonal patterns and all like that. So the rivers of life and the consciousness into the new age means that we must now get these crystals to vibrating with faster deductions. This is one of the reasons, as a woman, Mona Harrison, that I still try to herald, because she had this whole thing. She had 2 tapes of.
Is that with the water, right?
Everywhere, nothing to drink, and water to
water, right.
Water to the brain is why they killed her, because she showed what your brain could do, and concentrating on water, you could change the water. And once the change was formed in the form of crystals like in ice, it was a beautiful pattern if your thoughts were good. It was an ugly pattern if your thoughts were bad, which meant that we can transform matter with our mind, because mind is matter.
Now,
it's not mind over matter. It's mind working through matter and contacting universal mind.
Now,
well, these children can do that. And pretty soon, not only will they be able to walk on water, because the water will be transformed by the mind, but they'll find out that the blood itself can be influenced, and you can clean your own blood with thought. This is why I used to meditate over food and so on like that. And this is one of the reasons why they want to put all this low vibing thing in there, so your blood stays very low and low vibing. Because rich blood is oxygen. Oxygen is precipitating of healing and cleansing. So as I say, we're on the verge of becoming new people. And these old, worn out, ignorant, awful, killing machines, these Illuminati, still want to function on these old gods that they're getting rid of. And because they know now that the gods are falling, and what the gods have told them, they will eat them up, literally. They will take them with them, literally. So they're going to do everything they can to retard all these crystals coming in, all these new formations and all coming in. That's pretty much the scenario of what's happening.
Now, what year would a crystal or indigo, is there a certain era that they came in?
Most of them came in there in the 80s, the latter part of the 80s, 85, 86, 87, and all like that. There were some, of course, pre-showers that came in before that, but they began to float in, come in flux in that time, in large quantities.
What was 71 around in the 70s? Were there any special breed of children or enlightened beings coming around the 60s or early 70s?
Well, they're always, okay, we go again. They're always, I go in this presumption again. This is another thing I take as a base, and some people will agree to agree. I think that there's more than 7 billion people on this planet. There's people living in caves in this area, 6 rounds of caves. There are people living in the center of Earth. And I go into hollow Earth consumption and theory, the Admiral Byrd thing, and Antarctica, which is Aphrodite spelled backward, one of the rulers of the inner world. So with that in mind, we don't even begin to understand how this planet is inhabited. There are giants in the Earth. If you remember that old saying, how does that go again, that it came to pass that the daughters of men...
The daughters of men.
The daughters of men.
Right, the sons of God.
And they were fair, and he went in unto them, and unto them were born mighty men, and they were giants in the earth.
Yeah, mighty men of renown, of old, yes.
That's one of the reasons why they're over in Afghanistan over there now, is because that's where some of the giants are in hibernation, or in suspended animation. They pulled 8-foot and 14-foot giants out of there. They're using their blood now to create super soldiers.
Yeah, the whole super soldier project. There's a guy, a Russian guy, allegedly named Ernest Moltashev. He's a big-time ophthalmologist, but according to his stories, he's allegedly up in the mountains of Tibet, had the ability, I don't know how good it was, but to go into the region of the giants, like you said, they're in hibernation, sitting in like throne-type seats where they had. I know in the Christian Bible, in the Old Testament, they had these magic bands of pillows called casetods. They were responsible for keeping these giant beings in stasis. So this whole thing is always fascinating to me. It kind of reminds me of like Charles Fort, you know, the Fortean Times. This information is just, I don't know, I gobble it up like food. It's fascinating. But going back to the Michael Jackson situation, and if you Googled ancient Egypt, Michael Jackson Pharaoh, it's in the Feld Museum over there in Chicago in your area.
Okay, the which museum?
It's
the Field Museum?
Yeah, Field, yeah, FLELD, yes.
So there's a Field Museum where they have that. That's probably, I think, what you mean down there. So it's also around Lakeshore Drive down there again. Yeah, I've seen, in fact, there's a brother down there who designed that area. Used to be with our group. He's good with plaster and stuff and all like that one again. But yeah, that part I am familiar with. And also, I used to love the works of Charles Fort. It was Stone, New Land, Wild Talents, and the Book of the Damned.
Yes.
They put them all down in the Fortean Society. He was another one I read a lot of, along with the Wasp and Calypsis. These are books that help to expand your consciousness. That's why they're not on the most required list. They don't want you to ever be thinking for yourself. They want a program. So these people open your mind up to let you know the possibilities on this planet, and there's unlimited possibilities on this planet if we could ever get rid of these Dracons. And these Dracons are going, but unfortunately all of those who serve them are so afraid of their going, so afraid that they'll take them with you, or worse than that, to the people who rebel against them. So they're throwing at us everything they can to retard us now. It's a horrible thing that's going on.
It's fun. Yeah, I agree. It's when you mentioned about the Dracons, those may not be familiar with that and may just regulate that to just fantasy or fiction. But I know that once again, Hollywood always gives us a playbook, so to speak. The movie V that came out, and then they had a TV series about it that creatures or beings that look like human beings, but behind the dark, they actually look like lizards or reptoids or things of that nature. I know a guy by the name of John Rhodes. He's really big on digging up articles throughout newspapers throughout the world, like in Ohio, where they had where police officers, believe it or not, alleged to see reptilian-type creatures on some of their night runs and things of that nature. So, are you saying that there is some basis of reality in that whole Draco reptoid type thing going on?
Oh, yes, I believe them thoroughly. I hope I never see one close up. I've seen pictures, and that was enough for me.
Okay.
And, you know, I hope I don't ever have to see that. But, yes, because they're talked about throughout history, as you stated. Any history you go back, they're talking about the upright walking serpent, about the Dracons, about Dracos that came from Draconis and came from Zeta Reticuli and all these places like that. They control solar systems, and they lost their souls a long time ago. That's why now this whole new thing in nanotechnology. And mark my words, by September and October, you're going to be hearing about Alto and Pico. You think nano is something, they can get things smaller called Alto and Pico than nano. And that's why they have to invent things now that are not biological because they lost their souls and they have no biology. So they must now go into the micro world, and this is why they're doing everything now with technology, and so on again like that. So this is the whole point. They still will not give up what they're doing, but this planet is not going to keep them. So if we can stay with this planet as she ascends, we'll be free of them. But no, they're out there, and they still want to control everything that they can touch and see.
It's funny you say that about the Pico. The new movie came out with Tom Cruise and starring Morgan Freeman called Oblivion, and it's a spoiler alert. So if those want to see the movie, it's a spoiler alert. Tom Cruise's character, he wasn't the only one, and he was a cloned being, and it was like thousands of them you'll find at the end of the picture. So it's kind of what you're saying. We're coming to that age once again, the ancient future. The ancients used to do these things, and according to myth and lore, that's the reason why their worlds were destroyed as a result of polluting the gene pool. And when you mentioned about the upright Draco or dragon walking around, I know in the history of the Old Testament in the Bible with Adam and Eve, it said that Eve was seduced by the serpent, and everyone automatically equates that to being Shaitan or Satan, the devil. But if you looked up that word, serpent was the Nakash, which is the serpent being. So it's something to it. It's definitely in our mythos and our lore throughout. Even Christian religion, they have it as well, but it's disguised differently.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. And there was this woman, I forget her name right now, but she stated that she made love to one of them, and so on and so forth.
Oh, Catherine O'Brien?
Yeah, she was one of the mind control things. But this was another woman, I forget her name now, and it come back. I don't remember her name. But anyway, this is what she's been saying for a long time, too. And many of these creatures, of course, that are coming about now are saying that they have mated with earth women. And there was a woman the other day, too, that had puppies. Can you believe that again? You tell me how that came about. And it's another
wait, rewind, Dr. Blair. Rewind. Say that one more time.
Woman had puppies about 3 weeks ago. In fact,
is that one of them tabloid newspapers that you get at the when you go to the store?
No, it was on the internet. It doesn't mean it's true, but they had pictures of these puppies that were half. Well, in fact, in Dulce, New Mexico, they're making creatures every day. They got, I got a whole list of those things come out of there. They got spider people, they got alligator people, and that's right over in Dulce, New Mexico.
Well, you know, here's my little disclaimer. I'm being facetious now. They said that whole Dulce thing was a joke. There was no such thing.
You faded on me again.
They said the whole Dulce thing was a joke. It never really existed. There was nothing under there, no labs. And you're saying that still to this day there's something to it?
I got pictures of what some places did. That's right. At least all that area over there leads over to Arkaleka Mesa and S4, and that's as far as I'm going to go.
Right, I understand that for the TV, for the radio.
Yeah, well, no, S4 is part of that whole area.
That's a non-existent place.
Another thing, they got more stuff underground than you got on top.
Yeah, I know. That's once again for the radio, the non-existent place that doesn't exist. That goes back to the whole Plum Island situation as well. Allegedly, they're doing a whole Dr. Island or Dr. Moreau situation there.
Yeah, well, that's over there up there near
yeah, on Long Island, up in that area.
Yeah, in Montagne Point. Yeah, this whole globe, as they say, there's an underworld. That's another whole thing. That's where the term underworld came from.
Now, for those that are on a different path of life, and they want to get higher to the God woman or the masculine principle of God in them, or the feminine principle inside of them, how can they, from your perspective, raise their vibration? Is there a particular meditation or crystals or anything? From your experience, what do you recommend people doing that want to get more in tune with their spirituality?
Well, first of all, they need to block the radiation, which is dumbing them down and also causing their cells to age faster in cancers and stuff. And that's why we have those diode plaques. In fact, we have a diode series, but the diode plaques, when you can get it, you put your food on it or anything you want to put on it to transform it. And if it's poison or full of radiation or poison, it will take the radiation or poisons out of it within 45 minutes, sometimes less. I say leave it on 45 minutes just in case. And that's because it actually knocks the electron off, changes the neutron within it, and most things in general that spin to the left under an electron microscope are bad. Most things in general that spin to the right are good. So it knocks it off the left-right. So that's one of the things we sell. And once you can begin to put your food on that, then you can begin to get your body kind of purified. Of course, meditation and is good. And of course, that's why we have the monatomic gold powder and stuff. Because when you take it, you can dream in color, you can astral project, you can get into lucid dreaming. And these things help you because if you're already trying to transform the higher dimension, then that's good. Now, if you're in the dope and drugs and all this kind of stuff, no, it's going to get you lost out there because you're not in control of yourself. But if you're in a meditation, monatomic gold, and using a diode plaque, and two things you need to do like yesterday, I feel.
It's interesting you say that. I appreciate you for saying that. You mentioned the word monatomic gold, and mind to mind, like we said, obviously you can see that we're, I won't say all over the place, but we like to explore things outside the normal realm of conversation. When you said monatomic gold, it made me think about during the time, according to the story in the Old Testament of the Bible, when Moses went up to Mount Sinai, he was, talking with Jehovah or God, and his brother Aaron made this calf of gold, and symbolic of Hathor from Egypt where they left. And when Moses came down, he felt some type of way, was angry, and he caused the priest to, Aaron's priest, to burn the gold, and the people ate the powder. Now, according to the story, do you think that was symbolic of them ingesting monatomic gold?
Yeah, most of the Bible is made up of metal. Okay, let's put it another way. By my interpretation, and by the way, I'm an ex-Baptist minister too. You say ex, well, because I had to walk away from the church because I'm not a hypocrite. And when I kept reading, I could not believe what I had been told.
Okay.
I could not teach that to others that I would not teach to myself.
Okay.
Based on all of that, because I found the allegory, and most of that Bible since the Council of Nicene, and of course that's a whole new paragraph. They've changed everything around. They adapted the best of CBS. They took the best of Krishna and Jesus and combined them too.
Okay.
Either way, most of that now, those teachings are based on ancient texts. There's nothing new about the ancient text. But they've changed it and killed so many people changing it around. But the ancient text is still there because it was true. There are 13 different kind of religions now that we have. And all of those talk about one thing. They talked about the Trinity. They talked about the black gods that were there. And there's a whole list of them again, from Krishna to Buddha to Lao Tse, on and so forth again. And it talks about the changings of earth and the things that came about. Well, they transformed all of that, took most of that away, and so now it's coming back as new item. It's an old teaching here on this planet. This is a very old planet about to overthrow the dogmas of those who have been controlling us.
Now, you said about the black gods. Now, I've always heard the flip side of things when it came to the so-called education of so-called primitive people. There were always pale-skinned, bearded people, for instance, like Quetzalcoatl down in the South American region, or the Emoto of Japan. They always said that their, I don't say creator beings, but the ones that granted them enlightenment were more like the Nordic pale-skinned people. Now, you're mentioning about black gods. Now, and it seemed like every time when these pale-skinned overlords came into play, then the community was decimated or destroyed or eradicated. From your experience, I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with the whole idea that with the Inca and the Aztec and things of that nature, when they believed that the god came in, and the reason why they didn't fight him back because they were waiting for this pale-skinned deity to come into play. Now, how does that come into... What I'm hearing is a couple things. I guess I'm kind of talking it out. Is that we have these black gods and we have these well, you didn't say the white gods, but I did, the pale-skinned gods coming in. So from each race, you have like Laotian or Taiwanese, and do you think that there's just my reference point, just to be anchored so people could appreciate what we're saying, that we're made in the image of the gods and goddesses? Is that meaning that there are black gods or pale-skinned gods or Chinese gods? Can you help me out?
Yeah, I can do the whole thing. First of all, you have to go back to when it was out of Spain, when Ferdinand and Isabella were going through the Inquisition, in which they killed 13 million people. That's what really set this planet back. 30 million people were killed in the Spanish Inquisition because some of them, if you remember, what was this guy's name? This guy came over from Spain, came into South America. Montezuma.
Yeah, Montezuma.
Cortez.
Yeah.
Over there, he killed Montezuma. And Montezuma, they used to worship the black gods, Quetzalcoatl and Stilton. So once they burned the books, killed the gods and stuff, then the children, this is why you got more Catholics now in South America than you have in all of Italy, because that's why they formed the mafia over there. They couldn't stand the Roman Empire.
Right.
They raids on them. So nobody over there respects them at all. Over here, because they killed off their gods, killed off Montezuma, burned all the books and stuff like this, so that's all they know. And of course, this is why they wanted to be prolific, because the more prolific they were, the more Catholics that they would have to worship. That's why they told them not to use birth control, okay? But anyway, you had Buddha from India, had dreads and woolly hair. You had Fuxi from China. You had Samarkand from Siam. You had Zaha from Japan. You had Kar and the temple of Kar, Koinak and Ceres, the virgin that was there. You had Moses on the Mohammedan religion. You had Zeus, the father of the gods, and the Greeks or the Ethiops, the people of burnt faces. You had Apollo, the black son of Zeus. You had Krishna, the Indian blue-black god, the black one again. You had Tyre from Scandinavia, which lets you know that Thor came from Tyre, which means that the people in Scandinavia also worship woolly-haired black people. You had Athena, which is a god that normally was called, from Libya and so on like that, was called Arnat and Melas and Neith and all this kind of thing. You had Isis, which used to be Asp. You had Lao Se. You had Scotia from Scotland. That's why I got its name, the black Greek god there. You had Quetzalcoatl. You had Kline. You had Osiris. You had Stilton. You had Circe. You had Giannis. It goes on and on in Delphi. I studied that for years. I had a whole book out on it. But yeah, all these were black gods. The white god is the one you don't find, and that's the one that they personificated and put it before us now. So now we believe in him and don't believe in anybody else. But that's because of the killing off of people that had other beliefs, and the destruction again of the civilization that was prior to that Roman Empire and prior to Spain conquering everybody.
Yeah. Now, with regards to that, I know that that ancient book that the ancient South Americans used was called the Popol Vuh, and allegedly everything was burnt off. But I'm pretty sure the Vatican, before burning every copy, they may have something stored away in their Vatican library somewhere. What do you think about that?
Well, look, I go to a lot of the books. They still have them. I was a pretty good student, of course. They got most of that stuff. They took it off the market. In fact, from 1900 to about 1908, when, who is this name? This guy over there at the University of Chicago. You had Sir Findus Petrie. You had John David Rockefeller the first. That's when he put up all the money for it. There was the first chancellor they had over there. That's when they started this movie, his story. That's exactly what it is. His story and my story. My story becomes a mystery. His story becomes a sacred text. And nobody knew it. So that's why they had to make you go through these panel of people to get published and to get money from it. You had to teach this new history. And then that's when they got together with the Cambridge and Dartmouth and Oxford and all that, and they started teaching this history. Never was a history like this before. They changed everything, blew the noses off the Sphinx. I mean, it just goes on and on. So now we understand that to be real history, and that's minor history, not even 400 years old, really. But again, we think it's new. We think it's old. It's not. It's not ancient at all. I just named you the ancient gods and the history that was around.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Are you familiar with a term called breakaway civilization?
I'm sorry, this phone's ringing in the back and distracting me.
Sure.
Was that familiar with what's now?
Something called the breakaway civilization.
I'm not sure of a breakaway civilization per se, but I know of many civilizations that have fallen, and now we've forgotten the history that they were there.
Yeah, according to the term breakaway civilization, popularized by a man named Richard Dolan, he used to work for, I think, one of the defense departments, and another guy by the name of Joseph Farrell, his fame called the breakaway civilization. According to their writings and findings, that it's alleged that prior to the ending of World War II, when the Nazi party decided to go a different way, didn't officially sign off on the war parties, and they went to Argentina, Mangala, and things of that nature. But they also were heavy into the science field when it comes to different rocketry, where Russia took them and NASA took them here in the States. But they found another way of leaving the Earth plane, so to speak. So with the movies like Alternative 3 and things of that nature, they said that the people using a greater technology, basically using ancient information, have left the Earth plane, so to speak, are in the heavens and exploring up in there. So I was just curious if you're familiar with the term breakaway civilization, where there's a certain segment of humanity have been able to use technology to leave the Earth and living up in space.
Well, I don't know what he called it. I call that Operation Paperclip, where they came in there and they took out the Nazis had UFOs. In fact, if you saw the movie Red, these black pilots from Tuskegee and stuff, the Tuskegee.
Red Tail.
Went along, and they had another went along with that. When they were flying over there, they ran into jet planes, and they never seen jet planes before. And they were saying, and Hitler had them. Well, Hitler also had UFOs over there. UFO means unidentified. They had identified objects, which they said they got out of Spitsbergen and some of the continents up there called Hyperborea, that the ancient ones had told them. And in fact, supposedly they had atomic submarines way back there that they were able to go underneath the ice cap.
Now, is Hyperborea the same as Antarctica, or is that a different area?
Hyperborea is the area now that we call Antarctica. Okay. But Hyperborea was a continent up there that has made of plastic. It's one of the more refined continents. When you start going into some of the, I can't think of some of the names, like Rainbow City and stuff like this, it's because underneath that ice are plexiglass type cities there that are just coming back into their own. Once it got inundated, the Earth went through a big change. It's like Marduk and Malona. It went through a big change on Earth. That's another whole history. But up there, they supposedly had UFOs. They supposedly had flying saucers. I have pictures of some of those crap. I have a whole movie, in fact, on it that I showed to some of the people that come out to our center here. And that's under Operation Paperclip, by which it was said that Hitler was not killed, but went down to Argentina.
Right.
Many of the other Nazis there, SS troops, are still up there communicating with some of the people supposedly inside of the Earth. This is why he said that he would be the new Führer, the new ruler, and well, that's another whole story. That's a story within itself. Again.
That's true. Now, you mentioned about Antarctica and Hyperborea. Are you familiar with the? I can't think of the lady's name now, but she did some investigation in Alaska. They have allegedly unearthed this giant pyramid that's in the ground there, and the military has it, and it has enough wattage of power that could the whole west coast of the United States of America could be harness the energy that's coming off of this particular pyramid.
Yeah, that's what she's on coast to coast.
Yeah, I can't think of her name. Yeah,
I forget her name right now. She gives some excellent reports too. I like her. But yeah, she's talked about that. I've heard her talk about that too.
Okay.
Like I said, I have pictures of the UFOs that they have seen over in Hitler's Germany and all like that. In fact, one of the reasons why Hitler lost that war, why Germany lost the war, when they had England just down, Churchill was just about to give up. And what he did, Hitler, in fact, that's another thing. His name wasn't even Hitler. His name was Adolf Scheckelgruber.
Scheckelgruber, okay.
Hitler was an astrologer. And when his astrologer died, he took the teaching of that and changed his name. And what he did, he read Hornberger's theory of eternal ice. And Hornberger was teaching that.
So,
I don't want to go on.
No, I understand that, but you're saying that Hitler had an astrologer, number one. You're saying that was Mein Kampf a result of Hitler, or did Hitler read Mein Kampf?
Well, No, he read Horbiger. You're not listening to me. You're imposing now your will.
No, I'm not trying to do that. I'm listening.
You do that because we both got a lot to say. I understand yours. I'm giving you another theory too.
Okay.
It's all on the same paragraph. He read Horbiger. Horbiger's theory of eternal cosmic ice. He misinterpreted it. And like I was saying, during World War II, when they were sending these V-2 rockets, nobody had V-2 rockets. And the Blitzkrieg, what they call the overwhelming force, he was bombing Churchill and all like that. They were about to give up. But he got this inclination, this dream or this thing, and through Horbiger, and he interpreted that the stars were holes in the sky, and that the great sun of the outer world shone through it. So he wanted to shoot a rocket through these stars to let the gods know that the Fuhrer had been born on Earth. The new God was here to make him ruler of the Earth. And then he did that, and of course they stopped shooting the V-2s. He took his best scientists to put them out on this island. That's why the war turned again, because he misinterpreted what was said to be the inner world, that we were out the inner world, and the stars were holes in the cosmic ice. So that's what happened to him.
That's interesting. I appreciate that, and please don't mistake me interjecting as me being offensive to you. So that's not my attempt.
No, it's just that we both were very strong researchers, and I love hearing you. It's just that I also like to listen. Then, you know, right now, I think all your audience is confused by now.
Oh, well, let's bring them back down to earth. let's bring them back down to earth. In your area, Chicago, Illinois, around that area, there's a place called Burroughs Cave. And are you familiar with Burroughs Cave?
Okay, you phrase it out on me again.
Maybe certain words are trigger words. Burroughs Cave, Burrow.
Burroughs? No, I'm not familiar with Burroughs Cave.
Yeah, Burroughs Cave is in your area, Chicago, Illinois. There's allegedly unearthed a lot of relics and coins and stones of from the Roman, Egyptian era and things of that nature.
Okay, I do know down in southern Illinois. No, I'm not familiar with Burroughs Cave. Now, there is in southern Illinois, down there near Cahokia State Park. Right across the street from the Golden Arches.
Cahokia.
And the time, Cahokia. It's down there near Owensville, Statesville, and all that. They're always seeing UFOs down there. Well, the government has been down there digging that through now. They went down for 3.5 years, taking in all these wonderful relics that look Negroid and all these gold trinkets and everything else. There was even a cave there which they closed over, in which the state police, all the UFOs seen in the Chicago area are used in southern Illinois, because that's where they seem to come up out of the ground and out of the water down there and all like that too. But I know they found all kind of relics down there. In fact, there was a mound down there that's a pyramid that's larger than the base of the one in Giza. And of course, it's all part of what they call the snake mounds, because the Ohio mounds, that roll of mounds, which are nothing but pyramids, they go from the Atlantic Ocean all the way down here to down to Owensville, down here to Cahokia. And this is what they call the mounds. That means that there are a row of pyramids, and somebody built those pyramids, and there is a body that was down here in this pyramid, which, as I say, is larger at its base than the one over in Egypt. And whoever was buried there, we got a chance to see it. I used to take my classes on a tour down there to show them real history. And there were 13 rows of arrow tips. Each one of these arrow tips was made up of orgone or some kind of different mineral or so. And it meant that they came from all over the earth down here to southern Illinois to bury or worship somebody. So I'd like to know who it was that was buried down there. But again, there's a beautiful place down there too. And as I say, this is our planet is really, we don't understand our planet because we've been miseducated. But our planet is very old. There have been many races on this planet. And once more, as I say, it seems like the universal prime creator said, wake up from your sleep, child. Come back into what you're supposed to be. Throw these beasts off of you. And this is what they're trying to do. Those who held back our history and have usurped us are being got rid of. And as they go out, they're doing everything they can, like a rat in the corner. And they'll take this planet down if they can do it.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. Dr. Blair, we have to go to our final break in our program. Would you mind holding on with us a few more minutes?
Thank you again.
All right, hold on, please.